There's a term that's used frequently in Japanese called Ganbarimasu, which means fight, and it speaks to the fighting spirit of the Japanese. It's applied to kind of basically all segments of life, work, sports, activities. And really, the principle behind this is kind of getting behind something, an objective, working collectively, and is working, in unison with the team towards a goal, bringing each one person up as you go. If somebody falls, the whole team falls. Achieving a goal, but also celebrating together and celebrating successes as well.
Welcome back to the Coachful Coaching Leadership Podcast. Today, I'm here with Art Deruga. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Dave. How you doing?
I am excellent. It's a nice day today, so I'm looking forward to things. How about we get started and
Sure.
you introduce yourself to everyone?
Absolutely, and fantastic to share the space with you. Thanks so much, Dave. It's a pleasure to be on your show. My name is Art Deruga. I am a Deputy Director of the Cross-Sectoral Strategy Team in the Trade Sectors Bureau at Global Affairs Canada. I've been working in global affairs for 4 years now, and prior to working in trade, I served in international assistance, as well as on the political side too. I also am a certified performance coach, Coach Art Elevation, and I'm working to really help enable aspiring coaches and seasoned coaches really align to their life purpose.
All right. So you got a bit of stuff going on there in your life, Art. I do want to dive into your experiences working in Global Affairs Canada.
Yeah.
Obviously the things you can talk about from
Sure.
a leadership perspective. And yeah, you recently started a coaching organization, Coach Art Elevation. So we'll dive into that. But before we do that, I sent you some questions around, icebreakers. So one of them was, can you share a crazy but true fact about yourself?
Yeah, so Canada is where I raised. I'm an immigrant. I came to Canada when I was 2 years old. From England, descendants of Polish parents and grandparents. So Canada is where I was raised, but I spent 6 years in Japan after university. Interesting fact is Japan is where I learned to ski, but I got my black belt in karate in Canada.
Okay. You're mentioning. I remember sometimes we would talk over the weekend. You're like, "Hey, I'm at karate class," and what style of karate do you do?
I do Shotokan karate, so it's a form of karate. I do with my son. It's actually my son that got me into it. He started. I had some reservations just with my knees whether I could take pounding, but I tried it out, and it really helped, and it's been excellent. We got black belts last December, my son and I. We go 3 times a week. It's excellent for the heart, the mind, the soul. It's great for discipline, and it's great for work-life balance. So absolutely love it.
Well, congratulations. I make sure I don't upset you when I meet you in person, right? In all seriousness, yeah. Well, in all seriousness, I mean that is a huge feat, right? Like getting to black belt and especially Shotokan karate. It's not easy. So shows some of your toughness there, my friend. Another question I am very interested in diving into, and I think this sort of gets into what's in the mind of Art Deruga. What have you changed your mind about recently, and what have you doubled down on?
Yeah, so what I've doubled down on, Dave, is really recognition of really what brings me into alignment with my life's purpose and my personal and my professional desires, which is really about aligning to really my wants, my desires, my drives. That really kind of sets the tone, that dictates the tone for what I want to do in my life. And also really around that, and interesting that I found that I've learned about myself over the course of my 25-year career is that the thing that gives me the most satisfaction is to enable people around me to achieve the same, to achieve that, alignment to their life's purpose.
Okay.
So that's something that I've done for myself, and that's something that I've also worked to provide to serve others as well.
So alignment to your life purpose, alignment to other people's life purpose. I guess let's dive into some of that.
Yeah.
Your years working in the public sector, government of Canada, global affairs. First of all, what do you do at global affairs? Like, what is the purpose of that department?
Purpose of that department is really to serve Canada overseas, to serve our embassies and missions overseas, to serve people, to serve conflicts, to help people that are kind of that are obviously stranded overseas too, to work on really the breakdown of the stream. So there's the political side, there's the trade side, and there's the development side. In terms of what I do right now is that I currently work on the cross-sectoral strategy team in the Trade Sectors Bureau. So anything that touches upon any multi-sector initiative, whether it be through a Indo-Pacific strategy, for example, I kind of come in and make sure that all the dots connect horizontally. So that when there is a strategy such as the Indo-Pacific strategy that touches upon clean technologies, infrastructure, I kind of come in and make it kind of a cohesive piece. I lead a team of 5 individuals right now. I also just came back from assignment where I worked as the most senior advisor on the Japan desk, where I was principally responsible for regional security, trade, energy, and climate change to further advance bilateral relations with Japan.
Okay. So maybe help the listeners out there understand like what, and I guess this is where we'll decide if we have to edit this out or not. Is I mean, can you give a little more specifics around like what's a typical mission or typical assignment you'll be working on overseas?
In terms of you're saying though an actual overseas assignment, like a
Yeah,
posting overseas, or myself
anything.
supporting?
Like you said, you worked in Japan and such, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
what
Well,
would you be doing? How would you be working with the teams there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Well, I'll give you a concrete example. So I was responsible for the Canada-Japan Action Plan, which is a basically a concrete plan comprised of 46 tangible commitments across security, across trade, across energy, and across climate change. This aligns to the government's priority of a free and Indo-Pacific. The action plan represents really tangible commitments to advance the progress across Canada and Japan's 6 shared priority. I named the 6 shared priorities: the rule of law, energy, climate change, and those elements. So key is really to kind of advance the plan so we can drive progress against those initiatives and the priorities. So it would be working with the various other government department leads across those initiatives, ensuring that the commitments are accurately tracked, working with our Tokyo mission and our headquarters to make sure that everything basically aligns with those kind of advancement of those commitments. This action plan was actually approved by the Minister of International Affairs and the Japanese Minister of National Affairs last October too. So that was something that I implemented and that I monitored. So that's one piece of it. There's various pieces of it, but that's a good example of a concrete piece that we helped move. There's also various elements of either incoming Japanese prime ministerial, deputy ministerial, official travel that we support, and also outgoing travel for our prime minister and our deputy minister and officials to go and to engage either bilaterally with the Japanese or in a joint forum, such as NATO, for example. So it would be to prepare all the supporting materials, the arguments, our positions, the key messages, the discussion points, and recommendations moving forward.
So I can imagine like you work on a not just a national scale but an international scale, right? And
Yes.
you probably work across many cultures, right? And many countries, many cultures. I mean, anything you could share there, like how you've adapted to working, you say with NATO, so all the NATO
Yeah.
countries are working in Japan, which is a very different culture from North America. What are some of the challenges you faced there culturally, and how do you sort of bridge that gap?
Yeah, and I think maybe if you can allow me just to take a few steps back, I think that kind
Sure.
of one key area that kind of has allowed me to really adapt and thrive in that space is my experience working and living in Japan. I lived in Japan from 1999 to 2005 after graduating from Mount Elsa University and studying international relations. Um, it was really a mind blowing experience. It was really an awakening of many sorts. I had to I was first of all, I was placed in the countryside in a very rural environment, a town of 10,000 people called Nakacho, where there were literally no, maybe a select few English speakers. So I had to come in. I did not have any language ability or skill at the time. I had some sense, of the culture, but I had never visited. I had never lived there, so it was really me kind of coming in, learning to kind of adapt to the culture, the way of being, life, language, um, and after jumping into everything and after kind of learning and finding myself thriving in that setting, I was able to kind of double down on the language, my understanding of the culture, and through that I was able to gain
Mm.
to adapt, to be resilient at the same time. So those are some kind of things that kind of helped me, enable me to really thrive in the
Mm.
international environment
Oh,
that I'm in
oh,
now.
okay. That's fascinating. And, by the way, Art, if you don't mind just speaking up a little bit, right? It's a
Sure,
bit quiet on your
sure,
side.
yeah,
Um, so how, I guess, like right now on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being
yeah.
super fluent, like how fluent are you in Japanese?
I would say I'm about an eight. I mean, I converse with my wife primarily in Japanese. I obviously I have my wife's family, that we
Mm-hmm.
communicate with, on a daily basis. I try to kind of to jump into a lot that is Japanese. We have a lot of the Japanese community in the Ottawa area. It's very small, but it is tight knit. So we connect often with them, and it's a good opportunity for me to practice, and also through my work at Global Affairs with the Japanese Embassy. Of course, I'm not living there right now, so you're not as immersed,
Mm-hmm.
naturally as you would be. So I think if I were to be, more immersed and living there, then probably that would be up a notch from an eight to a nine.
Yeah. Well, if you don't use it, you lose it, right?
That's it.
As they
Yeah,
say, and there's
yeah,
nothing like a living in country to
yeah,
just be absolutely immersed in it. It's actually one of the things I envy with a lot of folks in European countries where typically people are born speaking 5 languages because there's absolutely no choice
yeah, yeah.
where they
You
live
got
but to
it.
speak 5 languages. So
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, I speak two and a half. I'm proud of myself
yeah,
as a
yeah,
Canadian. Um, okay, so you've been immersed in, like in Japan as an example, you've been immersed in the culture. You lived in the middle of nowhere. You built resilience from that. It's
yeah.
what are some of the cultural differences that you've noticed that where your immersion in the Japanese culture has really helped in leading these team of people at Global Affairs.
Yeah, there's a term that's used frequently in Japanese called Ganbarimasu, which means fight, and it speaks to the fighting spirit of the Japanese. It's applied to kind of basically all segments of life, work, sports, activities. And really, the principle behind this is kind of getting behind something, an objective, working collectively. There's a big focus, obviously, on the collective portion in Japan, and it's working, in unison with the team, towards a goal, bringing each one person up as you go. If somebody falls, the whole team falls. That concept is kind
Mm.
of really rooted in the way um, they do things. So it's really an all-in mentality. a fighting spirit mentality where you really drive. Along those lines, too, is the communal aspect of working kind of together, of achieving a goal, but also celebrating together and celebrating successes as well.
Mm.
There's the diligence portion, the discipline portion, and discipline portion also in working towards achieve those objectives. So I would say it's really those areas that I bring
Mm.
um, to my work, and something that I think, having gone to Japan, having gone at a really at a sensitive time in my life, sensitive time, I should say, where I was really absorbing a lot, young enough to
Hmm.
absorb a lot in everything around me, having gone there at 24 years old and then coming back at 30 years old, having spent um, really those first pre-working years there, I think really shaped me in a lot of
Yeah.
areas. So yeah.
Any events that stand out during that time that really shaped you?
Events in Japan? Yeah, I mean, many cultural festivals, for example, the sports festival is a festival that's conducted in the early part of September, and you spend 2 weeks outside where it's still close to 40 degrees, and
Hmm.
and you work through the whole flow of the sports festival, the various, the formations, the various, the group activities, the practices, and so on. So it's really applying that fighting spirit to that. It's a big form of also culture that the Japanese do embrace, where the whole school really gets behind it, and you're really all in to committing yourself to the sports festival and to really, advancing those objectives and coming out and having a fantastic event. So that would be
Mm.
one example.
Yeah. I guess so. You talked quite a bit about the fighting spirit,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, here's the thing. And what I know about you, Art, like there's fighting spirit, but it's not like loud and brash. It's like the quiet confidence that's coming
Yeah.
out that exudes. So I guess like you as a leader, um, how's that? How do you use that energy, that fighting spirit you're talking about, and how do you use that to lead a team of people?
Well, I think it's coming in, and I think it's always kind of being clear with the team on objectives and basically what you want to achieve. I think a lot of it too is really the type of energy that you bring and the perspective that you bring. You can see this as an excellent opportunity to achieve a team objective and personal self growth, or you can see it as a barrier, as a burden. So I think it
Mm.
really comes down to the energy, the quiet, the calm, and the confident energy that you really put into something that drives into the success. But it's
Mm.
also about kind of looking at it, I think, going up a level, not just looking at it in terms of what the outputs are going to be from a project standpoint. Of course, those are important, and we're working to achieve those. We're paid to achieve those. But I think more so than that, it's really the growth in individuals and the team that we see, that when we do work, we are learning. We are learning from ourselves. We're learning
Mm.
from each other. We're learning from the experiences, and these are things and elements that we could take and apply to other areas in our life, whether it be success at another project initiative, whether it be through a promotion, whether it be enhanced relationships. So I like to look at it from that standpoint as well,
Mm.
that this is a bit of an example of life, and we apply ourselves in a certain way through these examples, such as energy, such as dedication, such as building that team spirit. We're going to
Mhm.
succeed in our objectives, but also we're going to kind of build something that's everlasting. And the individuals that will have taken part of this will grow and will apply something great in their future.
Mm. It's wonderful, and I do want to see how this goes into your present day. But before that, um, I guess in your journey so far, like any mentors or coaches that stand out for you, and what did they do for you?
Yeah, I've had incredible mentors. I've been blessed with many mentors and coaches. But I really have to kind of go back and start. the principal figure in my life, which was my mom, my dear mom. She passed away in October 2020. We just celebrated the anniversary of her passing on October 8th.
Hmm.
Fall was her favorite season. Um, my mom was so special. We grew up in Centertown in Ottawa, and we had so it was a family of three, my brothers and I. Um, my mom was an educated. She went to teachers college. She was a teacher in England and in Canada. She worked in daycares. Um, we did have a burden in our life. We did have mental illness. My father was affected through schizoaffective disorder, so it was an
Mm.
additional burden that my mom had to kind of take on, and that our family also had to navigate. But the way she did it, Dave, with her love for family, with her warmth, with her laughter, and her ability to take challenging situations and smile at them, I think were a testament to her character. And when I say smile, I mean obviously there was a lot that was going on um, inside at the time, but her ability to kind of apply herself by smiling to making light of the situation um, was a great example that could be applied to future situations where we kind of learn from her how to approach a difficult situation.
Yeah.
And what I learned from this as well, and through her, was I learned love, I learned warmth, I learned resiliency, I learned adaptability as well. So that'd be one example of a great
Yeah.
um,
Mm.
mentor that impacts me to this day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it sounds like she was very special in your lives, all of your lives. And it probably, you know, I could see the glow in your eyes when you're talking about her to this day. And I'm sure she'll be very proud of you. Right.
Thank you.
Um, let's talk about coach art elevation.
Yeah,
So we talked about how your mom's been wasn't a big influence and still is an influence in who you are. You
yeah,
talked about, you know, energy, dedication, team spirit, fighting spirit. Those are like some core pillars to how you lead teams.
yeah.
Let's talk about your coaching adventures now, coach art elevation. Talk about a little bit what motivated you to start that, and where are you at in that journey?
Sure. So what really motivated me to start that? There was a feeling I had last year that when I did some introspection, I found that what gave me the most satisfaction and sense of purpose in my career was really help enabling those around me achieve their life's purpose. When I say life's purpose, that could be personally, it could be professionally through career advancement. It could be something to do with career change, witnessing and being part of their growth as a leader, helping be a part of that and helping drive that really resonated with me. So, in doing some further introspection, I found through the coaching method was a tool and a practice that I thought really aligned to how I want to go about supporting people, which is really helping them extract from them really real, authentic responses and approaches coming from them to enable solutions to address a multitude of problems personally and professionally to ultimately help them be the person that they are meant to be um, in this life. So that's what kind of really drove me to get started. And over this 6 month journey with the Canada Coach Academy, I felt that it was something that really gave me a good jump, gave me just a great feel. It's something that I felt that I could do naturally as well and succeed in that platform.
Mhm.
I feel that over the course of that journey that I've had experience in my 25 years in both the public and the private sector, um, being able to connect with people in a multitude of areas. And I think this comes down to my experience, kind of, working and living overseas, being amongst people, kind of with cultures unique to my own. So the ability to connect with people, and also the ability, Dave, to connect with people that either are having doubts, that are feeling stuck, people that could be, struggling. The information is inside of them always, but they need a little bit of help in terms of kind of getting that out of them. Or people that are really on that cusp of greatness, but they need that little, need that co-driver through the coach to kind of help get that information out of them. So really what Coach Art Elevation is about is, again, helping people that are in those scenarios, that have doubts, that have struggles, or they're on the cusp of greatness, personally and professionally, to launch a series of actions to help them get to where they want to be and where they're also supposed to be.
And like, are you targeting? Are you looking at other leaders, individual contributors? Like, who would benefit from your coaching?
Primarily the public service. I've been involved the majority of my career in the public service. So aspiring leaders, people that want to become future team leads, future managers, futures directors, but that need a co-driver to kind of help them navigate that journey, to help bring to the surface their real skills. And when I say real skills, things that really kind of, resonate deep down. Areas, for example, like resilience, that they've been equipped with over the course of their journey, that maybe they're not so much aware of, but that can be such a powerful tool in terms of helping them navigate to achieve great success. So it's the aspiring leaders, it's the seasoned leaders. I did mention the public service, but it's also the private sector and the community as well.
Yeah. It's wonderful how you talk about the aspiring leaders. That is probably one of the transition, like it's an example of a transition. You're going from an individual, all I need to worry about is myself, to now I have to worry about 5, 6, 10, 20 people, right? It's a very different mindset, different set of KPIs you got to have in your head too, of what success is, right? Yeah. So it's, I can see why folks would want to have a coach through that major transition, but also, seasoned leaders as well. They'll go through transitions and change is always happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess like when you think about leadership, especially aspiring leaders, what sort of advice would you give to, new leaders out there?
I would say for new and aspiring leaders, I would say always be true to your wants, to your desires. Dare to be successful. What I mean by that is really take that challenge. Dare yourself to be successful. It truly aligns to your inherent purpose in life. There's an inclination that people have to take 100% to the advice of others around you in terms of driving your career, in terms of making individuals, leads happy around you. But if it's not making you happy, if it's not kind of giving you that sense of purpose, then you need to break and you need to change course. So be true with your life's desire. It's okay to mess up. A lot of us have messed up along the career journey. A lot of us are still, either evolving or still trying to kind of, take a new turn to take on something new. But I would say along those lines to be open, to be true to your life's desires, and to go out, to make a decision, to take an active decision, be bold, learn as you go, And if you make a decision and you're bold and you learn as you go, there's a really good chance that things are going to end up on the right side for you.
Oh, wonderful. And out of that list of like advice there, what do you think is what's one thing that stands out as holding aspiring leaders back from success?
I think they're not. One thing that would really jump to mind is they are not being true to their life's desire. They are
What's that
on.
mean? Life's desire.
Sorry, if I can just kind of go back to their purpose. I think
Okay.
they're struggling to be someone or to become someone or something. I think that they're not. If they remain true to either a specific field that they want to lead, something that kind of gives them that drive, that purpose, that energy, and they're committed to it through bold action, through learning as they go, then there's a good chance and a probability that they will be successful as well. I think another element of it is people who feel as an aspiring leader that they're stuck, that they're a victim of circumstance, that they're a victim of a process, that they really base their success, it's contingent upon others. It's not contingent on others. It's really contingent on yourself and you taking the steps and the actions that are really true to yourself, that feel right, and that really align to what it is that you are supposed to do.
Wonderful. I think you ended with something very important. There is you could do your best, and sometimes your best is not enough for others, and it's okay. You have to be true to yourself. You got to be true to your field of practice as well.
Absolutely.
And that comes with time. That comes with confidence in yourself and your own abilities. And in those situations, sometimes you're gonna have to quit. Is not the right word. It's pivot, right?
Absolutely.
Make a pivot. If it's not working, you're doing your best, and other folks are not approving or whatever. It's okay. Make a pivot. Right? Do something where you're going to be successful at. Right? And that's advice I would give folks as well. Right?
I'm with you. Absolutely, Dave. On point.
All right, Art. Well, I'd love to ask every guest this question, Art. So just think about the young Art. It could be the teenage Art, the 20-year-old Art. It doesn't matter. If you were to go back in time and give him some advice, what would you tell him?
Well, I guess the first thing is I have a black belt now, so I'd be really able to kick his butt. In fact, I did karate in Japan for a year and a half, but I wasn't very committed, to be honest, and I do regret it when I did come back, though, and that's the beautiful thing about having kids, and what we learn about ourselves and what they teach us about ourselves. So through this experience with my son Ray, I've been able to, again, have an incredible experience, continue this day in karate. Going back to the 20-year-old, what I would tell Art at 20, I would tell him to go with what feels right, go with what feels natural, and in your heart's desire. Doubts are fine. Doubts are fine. I mean, they come from the outside. They come from internally. They come, but really try to learn to let them pass. Let them pass as clouds. Really believe and trust in yourself. You have an excellent character, great skill sets. You are born to succeed. Listen to the signs. That the world, that the universe gives you, and look at the big picture as you navigate, and you'll be just fine. That's what I would tell him.
Would he listen?
He would listen. Yes, he would listen. I would have to probably re-explain myself and just simplify a few things and use a few examples that he probably was not aware of, elements that shaped his life for the better, that he could use as kind of as energy moving forward. But I think after sitting down with him and doing a good map out of where his life has come, what he's learned from the experience, how he can apply those skills, and to learn to let the voices, let the criticism, let the doubts pass, and focus on yourself and focus on what's real. That that he would listen.
Yeah. All right. And it has nothing to do with the fact that you'll threaten him with your black belt.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Art, I always leave the last question to my guest. And the last question for you is to ask any question of me. So, what question do you have for me?
Oh boy, a good question for Dave Fung. Dave, what would be 3 key ways, in your view, that we can take the aspiring leaders who have just so much ability, talent to draw from, past to draw from, experiences to draw from, but are really feeling stuck, are really feeling in a rut? How could we as coaches help bring them to that point where they're past that and they're kind of navigating on a clear path en route to their heart's desire?
Thanks for that question. People feeling stuck, and I'd expand your question to aspiring leaders and current leaders. And it's very, very timely question because, at least in my sector, I've had the privilege of coaching a lot of people. A lot of people at my organization come to me for advice, and I'm an internal coach there as well to other folks. And a commonality I hear right now, the tech sector that I work in is going through a little valley right now, right? We've enjoyed 10 plus years of good stuff, right? And now suddenly, we're not hiring as fast, promotions aren't as available, revenues are down, margins are pretty tough. And so a lot of folks are feeling stuck right now. I've been working towards this goal of getting to the next level, whether it's a senior director, a VP, or I'm an individual contributor. I want to be a manager. Like, there's no hope. And the number one thing is, as a coach, is I've had to help folks reframe. And one of the reframings is, number one, is what if you saw your situation now as not, I'm stuck in this hole, but I'm preparing for when the market opens up again. How are you preparing? Because there's all your competitors for those positions are preparing right now. As you're looking down at your hands and feeling sorry for yourself, what are you doing to prepare when that market opens up again, when there's a flood of job opportunities in the market? And for one leader I talked to, that's a very senior leader actually, they were like, I've been stuck in this rut, Dave, for 2 years, and you just changed how I thought of things. So that's number one, right? Is reframe how you're thinking about it. That this is temporary. Every industry goes through a rut. How are you preparing when it opens up again? So do the things that's going to help you. That's number one. Number two is think of, when you feel stuck, there's something called the challenge. What do you call it? There's a study that talks about, psychological study where it's when you look at how do you see stress? Okay, Art, if you see stress as something that's going to be harmful to you, your body will biologically respond in a certain way.
Absolutely.
It'll be fight or flight. Like I'm running away from a cheetah, right? And that's useful for that situation. But also, if you can also think of stress, like feeling stuck is a type of stress, as an opportunity for growth. And there are numerous studies, and there's not just Dave Fung making it up. There are actual studies that show that for folks who actually see stress as an opportunity for growth, this is going to make me better. This is going to make me stronger. I'm going to be a better leader because of the things I'm going through right now. when they see that, it actually manifests itself to be true. And it's, it's not that there's woo woo going on. It's you actually take the action. Your body actually thinks of it that way. You actually trick your brain into thinking, okay, this is growth. I'm learning something. So you're in learning mode. When you think of stress as a growth opportunity, you're in learning mode versus fight or flight. You're just looking down at your hands, looking into the hole in the ground and feeling sorry for yourself, and you're not learning anything. So it's very closely related to number one, reframing. Number two is look at being stuck or the stress you're going through as an opportunity for growth, and your mind will follow and your body will follow. And I think number three is we have to exercise patience. Higher up, earlier in your career, it's easy to go from one job to another as an individual contributor, as a contractor. There's more of those jobs out there than anything else. But higher up you get, the fewer jobs exist. So you become a first line manager. There's quite a few jobs there, right? But then you become a second line manager, third line, fourth line. There's not many, and you want to get up to CEO. There's not many CEO jobs available. You have to learn patience, patience, patience. The higher up you get, the more patience you need to exercise, and the more discerning you need to be about the job opportunities that are out there, right? So let this be a test of like, well, are you actually leadership material? Because the higher up you get, there will be fewer opportunities, and you're going to have to exercise patience. You're not going to be able to jump around year to year. And in fact, I'm going on a rant here, Art.
You're on fire, man. Keep it going.
No. As a leader, decisions you make today, right now, you might not see the effects of it for another year or 2 years, even sometimes, right? So you need to exercise that patience to actually see through an initiative or a decision you make in your business to see if it actually works. So anyone who's in a leadership position for less than 2 years, right, and jumping around, they're not making any critical, bold decisions, as you're saying, and seeing it through to success. So I think that would be my advice to people who feel stuck out there. Emerging leaders, current leaders, is number one, you need to reframe, right, what the situation is and how are you preparing when things are better. Number two is thinking about the stress as a growth opportunity will trick your mind into actually learning more and getting those data points. And number three is it is a test of your patience, which is absolutely necessary to be a great leader. And it's a test. God or whatever your deity is testing you, because that is what is required as a leader, patience. So, all right, amazing. That's probably the longest rant I've had on a question to me. So, how do I do there, Art?
You did incredible. No, you brought up some incredible points. Reframing, perspective, using challenges can bring them into opportunities, and exercising patience throughout. No, awesome.
All right, Art. Well, thank you, sir. Well, my friend, we're almost we're past 40 minutes, if you believe that.
Wow.
So, yep. Time flies when you're having fun, Art.
Absolutely, Dave. Thanks so much.
Well, yeah, no problem. And it's, I have to say, like, I always enjoy talking to you, and, you're a very supportive friend as well. And, so thank you. And, it was a good time today. Thank you.
I had a blast. Thanks so much, Dave.
All right. I'm going to stop the recording now. Thanks, folks.